GITA TV.
Okej, dzień dobry. Dzisiaj jesteśmy tutaj w sklepie Pasja u nas z wspaniałym gitarzystą panem Andy Timmonsem. Hello Andy.
Hello, dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry.
It's my only Polish, folks. I'm so sorry. Dzień dobry. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna ask some questions.
Sure.
They were not written down before, so
Yeah.
it's straight from us.
Conversation.
Okay. So first question I got, what's your favorite tune if you had one? Because it's
A favorite
hard.
song? Well, it's
Yeah.
impossible. It's impossible. There's so many great tunes. I mean, I'm definitely a '60s fan. I was born in '63, so music from that era I tend to really resonate with. And I think God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson's great.
Oh, you actually hit my note, you know?
Just that right there. I may not always love you.
Super. I will sing.
Just the melody and the modulation and the harmony is just phenomenal. I mean, really, it evokes emotion, and a lot of Brian Wilson compositions do that for me. I mean, In My Room, he wrote about.
Yeah, he's basically a genius.
He's one of the closest things, if there is a pop genius. I mean, Brian, and you know what Brian would say, you know, because in the '60s they were already calling him a genius back then. He goes, "No, I'm not a genius. I just work harder than everybody else."
Yeah.
Okay, so there is genius there. It's just that he was so. I resonate with him because I think he was really an uber sensitive person. Too much so, because eventually it was his downfall. You know, he was definitely ahead of his time. You know how he took the forefront.
Definitely, because Pet Sounds is basically first concept albums, like from
Pretty much,
rock.
But he was doing it because he considered Rubber Soul a concept record.
Okay,
which it really wasn't, but maybe just in the vibe of it. I think he felt that it was now an art form. It wasn't just a few singles and some songs kind of put together. He really saw it as, man, these guys are. He saw how John and Paul and the Beatles and George Martin were all growing and experimenting, and he was getting inspired by that. Then, of course, he made Pet Sounds, and then the Beatles made Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah, because of the Pet Sounds.
Very much so. So they were very much. The interesting thing is that they were kind of competing, which John and Paul were competing in the Beatles. They were, oh, he wrote that, I got to write this. But the thing about it is that John and Paul had each other, and then in the band they had George and Ringo, and they had George Martin.
Yeah.
And the Beach Boys, it was all Brian.
I know.
You know, he had lyrical help, you know, from either Mike Love or like Tony Asher was the lyricist on the Pet Sounds record. But then the Smile record started happening, which eventually was. I mean, it's one of those things that was so advanced that the band was fighting Brian, and the label was like, no, we need beach songs, you know. And so he finally just said, he just retreated, you know. And I think internally and actually physically from the band. But that whole period is very inspiring, and his sensitivity and his ability to really evoke emotion is something that I try to do, you know, with the guitar. That's how these things can inspire you. Even you wouldn't necessarily hear that song and go, oh, that's where Andy gets lots of his ideas or inspiration, but it is that. It's all the guitar stuff that we love. But that's really the thing that helps shapes me. That attention to the melody and the emotion that resonates with me. I think as any artist would say, like a guy like David Bowie used to talk about how, you know, he wasn't necessarily always the most original, but he was a collector, you know, and that's what we all do. We collect all the things. If you just talk about being a guitar player, you know, like Stevie Ray Vaughan picked some Hendrix, he took some Albert King, and the things that he really loved, and it came out as him. You can trace it. You can say, oh, okay, I can hear where. You can kind of see, you know, where things come from, but then at some point it comes out very identifiably as that person. And that's what Bowie was doing back when he did Ziggy Stardust. It was Mark Bolan and this guy and some glam and some Lou Reed. Yeah. But then just did it in a really uber cool way, you know. And so his own way. He always in his own way. And then, but the brilliance of David and why he's such a great artist is that, and Jeff Beck is the same way with his guitar playing. He never was happy. Just okay, I've done that. I don't need to do that again. Let me change. I want to keep. And initially, David was just becoming different personalities. Yeah. He was kind of
every album.
He would take a different character, and what a beautiful way of approaching it. You know, as kind of an actor, and artistically and musically, I kind of want to do the same thing. You know, I like doing different bands. I like being in Simon Phillips's fusion group or doing Olivia Newton-John's band, which is something totally different. But I'm equally respectful of everything in between. You know, and I like being a player that I can have my own career, my own music, but I like being a team player too and doing what's right for, you know, always trying to serve the song, trying to do what's right in the moment musically. Like in Olivia's band, it's not about me shredding or whatever. It's just about making sure that the fans coming to see her are hearing what they want to hear and making sure she sounds great, you know. And it's like little bits to shine, of course.
Sometimes just less is more, yeah.
Less is way more.
Yeah,
and you know, I'm proud of being able to plug into those situations where, okay, yeah, I don't have to do everything I can do, but sometimes it's a lot more difficult to really do what's appropriate. You know what I mean? And it's that way in life too. You know, how you function in social situations might be how you behave musically. You know, some people are only aware of themselves, right? Same with players. Yeah. Sometimes there's been some guitar players you might jam with that maybe aren't the best jammers. They're great doing what they do, but if they don't know how to support somebody else, it's not always the most musical situation. So I really love finding players that really are obviously at a very high level, but are also very aware of everything else. And that's when really great music can happen. You know what I mean? That's when real beauty can happen, when we're all working together.
So question about that. So I ask you about the tune. What kind of player, which player from the say 60s, 70s, whatever, inspired you to say, okay, I want to try to do something like him? Okay,
well sure. There's so many along the way, but as I mentioned, the 60s, I was born in 63, and I had 3 older brothers. My oldest brother was 12 years older than I, so he bought all the 60s pop stuff as it came out. So a lot of Beatles. So that's my foundation. 60s melodic, you know. But as a kid, it didn't even dawn on me that I could learn how to do that. It just seemed it's holy music. I can't even think about it. But in the 70s, you know, I had, you know, acoustic guitars, and I was learning basic chords because my brothers played. All 3 brothers played a little bit of acoustic. So I was learning by watching them. But when Kiss came along, you know, it was a fairly, you know, simple rock and roll. But it was great for a kid. I didn't have a teacher. So, you know, I'm talking about, you know, 11, 12, 13 years old. Mm-hmm. By then I bought my first electric guitar for $12.95. And so I could, you know, put the record on and start to recognize some of the chords. Somebody showed me basic bar chords, and once you have that, oh my God, you can play anything, you know, you can figure out the songs. And so it was Ace Frehley that really was my first, you know, inspiration as far as a guy I was learning in. He had all the kind of the British blues rock guys, Jimmy Page and Clapton. He was kind of wrapping all those guys into a very easily digestible style for a beginner like me that was just trying to learn by ear. So it was 70s rock that was the foundation. Another guy named Ted Nugent, who was really, you know, popular then, and Foghat and Rush, a little more complex. But I was lucky when I was 13, I got my first band. So, you know, from the age of 13, I've always been in a band. I've never not been in a band, so I've always been gigging, you know, and that's really what taught me how to play, was learning the song, trying to figure it out, doing it wrong, but getting as close as I could. But sometimes when you're learning it wrong, it turns into you.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
Your limitations. You know, Mike Stern said it to me once. It's like, really, sometimes your limitations make you the artist that you are. Stuff that you can't do, you figure out other ways of accommodating, right? So that was an early guy. The next guy that was really huge for me was Steve Lukather. When I heard, you know, Hold the Line by Toto, there's something about this that I love so much. And he'd also done a lot of session stuff, and I heard a song called Breakdown Dead Ahead by Boss Skaggs, and that was Luke playing on that. So his time feel and his energy and just vibrato, there was just something really fantastic, and still is, about the way he plays. So he's, you know, I think I've got many times referred to him as probably my overall biggest influence. Just, you know, a lot of rock, but he was also, you know, there was some music that was, he said, "Phones off, man." Kidding. That was Young number 2.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he had some jazz, some chromatic kind of things happening, some jazz ideas. And by the time I was 16, I had a local teacher that, by 16 I knew this is what I want to do. I love rock and roll, but I guess I was reasonable enough to realize that making it in a rock band was it just seemed impossible. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest. I didn't live in LA or, New York. It didn't even dawn on me, but I was reading about, Carlton and Lukather and Tommy Tedesco being session guys, right? Studio musicians. So I thought, I should learn how to read music. Because I was self-taught. By 16, I was gigging 3 nights a week, and I was a good, solid player. But let me learn how to read. And that teacher was also a great jazz player. So we started playing, Barney Kessel and Joe Pass and Oscar Peterson on the piano. So that kind of started really broadening my interests, So being guys like Larry Carlton and Pat Metheny's another really huge influence for me. Just me, you hear me as a rock player, but there's a lot of detail and voice leading that comes from jazz and players like Pat. It's never about scales. It's always about, tension and release and chord tone versus non-chord tone. There's a lot of structure to what he plays melodically and compositionally. There's a lot of development. It's not just a bunch of licks.
Yeah.
He has licks like everybody else, and we all use them. But I kind of talk about it as being vocabulary. We're having a conversation now, and I'm using a lot of the same words, and maybe short phrases that I've used before. But I'm very much in the moment trying to communicate to you what we're talking about. And I've answered similar questions or talked about my early career, so I'm going to say some of the same things. But I'm saying it in a different way now, with a different emotion, because I feel different. So it's the same with, improvisational stuff. You might have certain lines or things, but the guys that I gravitate towards seem to use less licks and more melody. My favorite melodic musician of all time is Chet Baker, who's a great jazz trumpet player. And he's the one jazz guy that really strikes me. I don't hear repetition of, there's some of that, but there's always, he seems very in the moment, and very melodically fresh. And that's what I try to do when I'm playing. So those are the guys that I gravitated towards, like Pat, Lukather. So many of those iconic solos he played were first take. Just his instinct was so great. His time was so great. Then when Mike Stern came along, he's another huge guy where, for me, he was one of the early guys to really combine genuine rock, blues, guitar with bebop. There'd been fusion before Mike, with maybe Schofield kind of came before him, as he was another hero, and McLaughlin and some of these guys. But Mike just had the vibe and the really genuine Hendrixy blues rock, but with all the chromaticism, just freaking knocked me over. Then if you fast forward to maybe what I would call more modern, maybe they're viewed as classic now, but if you think about when Yngwie hit, or Eddie Van Halen hit, or then of course Joe Satriani, huge guy, because he came along and was just writing cool melodies, good pop tunes, and then shredded better than anybody.
Yeah.
You got to put Vi in there for all the innovation he brought. Eric Johnson is one of my biggest heroes, just sonically, what he achieved. He's legendary for his ability to hear batteries and cables, and it's all true. It's all, if you start going down that path, be careful, because you might not get anything done. Yeah. But he did the work, and the results are there. Avia Musicom, or that Austin City Limits from 1991. It's just one of the best guitar recording documents of all time. It's like Stevie Ray's Live at the El Macambo video. It's just so amazing. So it's kind of nice. This is a very long answer to a very simple question. But
I know. There are no simple questions.
No, well, okay. Yeah, true. So you just, what's your favorite? What's your favorite food? Okay, tacos. I'll just say tacos. No, but favorite guitar. But yeah, exactly. Tex-Mex. This could be a very actually. Yeah. No, but
I actually feel probably the same about food and music. It's like different senses, but the same sensations.
Absolutely. Well, it's important. It's all life. It's all life, and it's a fabric. It's a part of our life. The food and the music. And
okay, so we try to express yourselves. Express ourselves. Like make a conversation with a listener.
Hopefully.
Okay.
To make
1 second.
Okay. I will just leave the next guy for the interview that came. So,
okay.
I would tell him that 15 minutes.
Great.
We need.
It's still recording.
Great. Okay.
Okay, so to express yourself, you need an instrument.
Yes.
Yeah. And as I was told, this is the original. Yeah.
This is the very first. This is what became the AT100. This was a prototype made in February 14th, 1994. So almost 25 years old now. Happy birthday. It's been my main guitar. I mean, obviously I play other Ibanez. I have a lot of different guitars for sessions, but this is the one I always say that if I could only have one guitar, this is it. This is my guitar where I can go in and really just cover just about any gig. You know what I mean? I can get a lot of variety out of the sounds, and I love it. You know, so I was very fortunate that over the years, you know, Ibanez did a low number production run in 1999 as a signature model, but then it's been officially available now for many years. And yeah, so it's
great guitars.
I'm very pleased. Like, you know, and I know when I travel around, I like to, when I see one in the store, of course I like to pick them up and just make sure they're good, right? And every one always feels great. The neck has just got a beautiful profile. It just kind of feels like an old vintage neck that's been played a lot. And as you can see, this one's a bit brighter than mine. It darkens up over the years. So, yeah. But you have to do your own relicking, folks. You have to earn it. Right?
It has some mileage.
You got some mileage. You got to play. This has been refretted. We think it's 7 or 8 times. I've lost track. So, you know,
it's a great guitar.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm very happy with it. And you know, and I have some production models of this at home that I play a lot because I try to preserve the frets because I wear through them pretty quickly, and I love them just as much too. So eventually, I might have to leave this at home because I always feel like, oh man, I'd hate if anything happened to it.
Yeah.
But it's also
neck, yeah.
but you know, people that know me, they like to see that guitar. You know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
It's because you're expressing yourself, but it's basically part of you. Yes?
No, it really is. I mean, absolutely. I think when you find the right instrument and you find that, and you can develop that connection. Sometimes it happens quickly. Sometimes it's just because you play it for years. You know, I will say when I first got this guitar, it was evident to me that I was very comfortable on it. You know, and so yeah, when you find that, so you can just don't let it go. You know.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay, so how often do you visit Poland?
This is only my maybe 4th time. I know I came once. I came once with the ATB to do a Mesa Boogie clinic.
Yeah.
Somewhere here, I don't remember. I don't think it was Warsaw. You know,
I wasn't there. So.
Too many miles on my brain, so I don't remember sometimes. Yeah. But I did play. I played Bochnia. I gave 1 or 2 gigs in Bochnia. Yeah. My friend Michael Kubicki. He's a nice guy that promotes concerts every now and then. He's a big music fan, nice guy. Did I play here with Simon Phillips? Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Somebody tell me. At least 4 times. I think so. But I love it here. I've always had good crowds, good energy. Very happy to be back. You know.
Glad to be
passion, which I've learned means passion, which is awesome. That's the thing, you know. Everybody, you know, because I have a signature guitar. I work with Mesa Boogie amps. Kind of, we have a relationship. Yeah. I have a couple pedal companies I work with. The one thing that's really important to me, whether it's my band or companies that I work with, you know, there's a lot of gear out there. There's lots of companies that make stuff that's fine. You know, you got to find what you like, the sound of the best. But what I started to realize in my life is that, you know, what was most important, aside from loving the gear, was loving the people and finding people that have the same passion, about the music and making sure it's not about the business. You know, we all have to make a living. You know, of course, I would like to sell some CDs tonight or whatever. But when I'm playing, I'm not thinking about that. That's not what I consider when I write a song, when I make a record, when I play a gig. I don't want to think about that because that's not why I do it. You know, again, it is a business. We're in a business. You know, we have families, right? But when you find people that just genuinely care, the bottom line is they care about getting it right. You know, and it might mean, you know, less money. Like when we made this guitar, what became my initial signature model, we could have made it cheaper. You know, they could have changed. Oh, we could do this. We could do. You know, if you try this.
cheaper is not always better.
No, because for me it was
Mostly that.
for me, I'm thinking of myself as the little kid that I was when I see a guy in a magazine playing a guitar going, he never plays that guitar. It's not. So if I was going to have a signature guitar, I wanted it to be exactly what I played. So that's what the original AT100 and the one they still make. It's the same hardware. It's the same. You know, they eventually came to me when they started making some guitars in Indonesia. So they had the premium line. So I was very skeptical when they asked me, maybe, you know, we'll do a prototype, we'll see. I was very skeptical. But the first prototype, the neck was perfect. So they changed like a couple of like the tuning gears and the bridge, but it sounded great. I'm like, man, I have no problem with this.
We actually had some of those. They were really comfortable.
And it made it more affordable. So I saw the beauty of that too. But again, that was after the fact of knowing that people could get my exact guitar. If they want to change that guitar, they just had to change two things. Because the neck was right, pickups were right. It's like, okay. So, but I learned early on in my career, whenever I made a decision based on money, if it wasn't, you know, congruent with how I felt inside, it was always the wrong decision. Always the wrong decision. You know, you got to do what's really in your heart, and it's the same with music too. You can chase trends and try to, oh, maybe if I write a song like that, then I'll be successful. Maybe that might work for a while, but it has to be, at least for me, I can tell if it's real or not. You know, it's like, and I think people can too for long periods of time. So anyway, that's the passion for trying to find people that you really resonate with. You know, if I don't get along with the people or whatever, or you see different motivations, it's not going to work. I don't want to be around that. You know, I want to sit with people with similar passion.
Okay, like probably last question.
Okay.
Do you have like one universal trick for young guitarists? It's like, you know, don't buy that, or use pick differently. Something that, you know, that's a little tweak, but actually changes a lot.
Well, it could be a little tweak or a very general thing that's true. I mean, depending on what your goal is. You know, some people just want to learn a couple of songs, be able to play a little bit. That's great. For anybody that's considering, you know, really making it their life or whatever, is that there's not any actual shortcuts. You know, the best thing you can do is learn as much as you can just on your own. You know, I realized that I was very fortunate growing up but I didn't have a teacher because I kind of had to earn it. You know, there's so much information available now in your back pocket. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Gesundheit. Yeah, it's so if you can learn little bits on your own, and then go to the transcription or the video, because the more you use your ear, you're solidifying everything about music. Because music is not a visual experience. It can be with music video and all, but it's really an oral experience. You know, how does it sound? And being able to recognize things without your eyes and only your ears solidifies everything. That gives you the foundation of not only recognizing what you're supposed to play, but understanding what else is happening at the same time in the music. You know, so that's a kind of a general thing. I've said it a million times, but it's like really do everything you can to strengthen your ears, because that's your strongest tool as a musician, right?
Yes.
You know. And the more it's called ear training. The more you can recognize a pitch and duplicate it. I drive my family crazy because I practice first thing every day, you know. But at night, if we're on the couch watching TV, I have a guitar in my hands. And if there's music happening, I'll hear the chord and see if I can match it. You know, I don't have perfect pitch, but I get close a lot. You know, so just having that relationship between the ear and your instrument. And eventually that becomes how you make your own melodies, you know, because you start to imagine things, and then if you can eliminate the thought process and you're just hearing things and it's coming through your fingers, that's a good goal. I'm still working on it, and some nights it works good. You know, I keep working on it.
Yeah, we're learning every day.
We're absolutely, well,
exactly.
That's the way.
Thank you very
Keep
much.
learning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pasha.
Dzięki wielkie.
Yeah.
Starczy.
All right.
Dobra, ja trafiam tą piłką, tą gitarą w piłkę, a ty subskrybujesz mój kanał.